Hello, it's Randi Rhodes. Here's a clip from our show, and go to randyrhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.
Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
There's a revolution going on in California. So many sanctuary areas want out of this ridiculous crime-infested and breeding concept. Jerry Brown is trying to back out of the National Guard at the border, but the people of the state are not happy, want security and safety now. Now, the facts of this, there's a lot of exaggeration, this hyperbole. That's Trump when he tweets. However, the phrase breeding concept has some outraged. Did the president cross a line? Let's get the bottom line with Charles
Is
Blow,
that a question,
CNN political
really?
commentator and op-ed columnist for the New York Times. What's the simple answer?
Well, breed is a concept you normally apply to animals and some plants, right? And breeding is the reproduction of those animals and plants. And so whether or not, what his intent is, who can ever know? The effect, though, is the dehumanizing of people, the otherizing of people, and the animalizing of people. And once you take a human being and reduce the humanity in that person where your fellow citizens no longer see that person as fully human, it opens the gate for you to do all manner of things to those people. And that is a very historical concept. That is an ancient concept. And we've seen that in recent history where during the crack epidemic, for instance, we had this kind of quack science that labels some people who were users and some people who were sellers as super predators. It kind of dehumanized to the point where you were allowed then to enact all sorts of draconian policies because all of a sudden they weren't human like you and I.
Once you define somebody as less than, then there's an expectation they will be treated as less than.
Less than human, not just less than
another human.
Yeah, as another human, not just less than importance in society, your contributions, just fully less than human. And that is a real thing. And maybe if it was someone else, you may be able to make an argument that maybe they slipped the tongue or whatever. But this particular person, this president, has a history of problematic racial language and actions. And therefore, you don't really give him the benefit of the doubt.
Thank you, Charles M. Blow of the New York Times. Thank you for clarifying how this president dehumanizes people into others. This tweet of his about breeding, that California, sanctuary cities where there's a breeding effort. This man just freaks me the freak out, okay? And yesterday's show ended entirely too quickly because we didn't bring up the Starbucks crap until, and it is crap. And I told you, all this shit, you got to cut the crap, people. You got to cut it out of your lives. Fake news, racist tweets, racist rants, Alex Jones, blaming, victimizing parents of little children who were shot dead and killed. I mean, today, we called the show today So Sue Me because that's all there is today. Lawsuits everywhere. Everyone looking for some sort of justice, and there's none that, it's just so frustrating. I can't even tell you. Anyway, so the Starbucks incident, obviously, we told you that they are going to shut their stores May 29th so that they can have unconscious racial bias classes for people who say things like, I see the dehumanization of people, or I see them being followed around in the store, or I see the police harassing them and shit, and I know it's wrong. And yet, when I have to rent something to them, like a storage cube or, an apartment, sometimes I don't show them what I have. And I don't know why I do it. Unconscious bias, okay, that kind of thing. But now there's even more stories that are going viral. And you know what? Thank God for social media in this way. You get to see unarmed people being shot and killed because they had been otherized. They are the victims of 400 years of dehumanization and otherizing. And this president, you know, just in case, you thought we were getting better for a little while and then we got worse, that's true. That's absolutely true. The amount of white supremacy that's been unleashed in this freaking country because of the president that we have and because of the crap that that man says and the history of him being very proud that Roy Cohn helped him fight against, when he wouldn't rent to black people. His guy, Roy Cohn, came and they fought it in court. And of course, he was, they had to settle it, right? And then he did it again. But where's his Roy Cohn? Well, Cohn and Cohen, sound kind of similar. They are kind of similar. We'll get there today too. But now, there's the stories I just read. I got to tell you, they made me sick. They literally, I went into the boys know what I have in front of me because we all share our stuff in the morning and then it has to get posted and blah blah blah. So Brett knows and Scott knows ahead of what what is happening now. They know what's on my plate. And I wasn't going to do this right away. But it made me so sick. It made me so not, it's all I can think of. And I have to get it out. Because individuals are going to make the difference here. Individuals. So you need to see the whole slate of stories I just read all together in one giant rip, okay? LA Fitness has now fired a manager and 2 employees in New Jersey, okay? It was in Secaucus. I know that place very well. But anyway, so you had a guy in LA Fitness who'd been a member of that exact gym, that same place he went to for 8 years. For 8 freaking years. His name is Mr. Oates. And he goes there and he says they always sort of shake him down. They always bother him. They always, but he's practiced. He's practiced in being, unthreatening. It's just his way of life. It's just what he's learned as a black man. Just go about your business and consciously be non-threatening. And that's what he was doing. And he brought a friend to the gym on one of the membership guest passes that was available to him as a member for 8 years. And he went in, they swipe your card to make sure. And, his picture comes up and they go, okay, go ahead. And here's my friend. I gave him a guest card. He's going to try out your gym. Okay, have fun. 5 minutes later, somebody comes up to him and says, can I re-swipe your card? He goes, why do you always do this to me? How come you always do this to me? He goes, clearly I am a longtime member. Clearly I've been here for 8 years. I have a current valid membership. And the staff got testy with him. And they said, we need to clarify that, you're a member. He goes, you just checked me in. Come on, now tell me, what is really going on here? And they called the cops. They called the police. And so he took out his cell phone and he started to record, all the events. And, here's a little snippet. There are 4 videos. They have all gone viral. He was just, doing what he always does. 8 years going to the same gym. Scanned him in, scanned his friend in, and he said, I'm the only person in the gym that you asked to scan again. Why am I the only person in the gym that you had? And there were only 2 black people in the gym, and it's almost always just him as a black man in the gym in Secaucus. And they're always doing this to him. So he's, they called the cops and he started filming.
LA Fitness Secaucus.
Secaucus.
Been had multiple problems with this club. I got my membership right here. I scanned in. I was asked to scan in again for no reason. I'm the only person in the gym they asked to scan again. And I have my membership. I've been a member here for at least 8 years. You got the cops here. You got the police here.
Oh, my God.
Excuse me, what's your name? don't matter. They'll know who you are. All right, here. Go ahead, scan it. I told you I'll scan it with your manager, right? Go ahead, scan that. And they call the police for this. Police right here. What that say on screen? Have a nice day. Can we go work out now? Have a very nice day. For the Secaucus again. I'll look for the Secaucus again.
Dude, you're not allowed to film it.
Why not?
Let's put that over. Okay, now we definitely. Let's figure this out, all right?
I do want to figure out. We're
gonna get the
all these police officers here for what reason?
We're just here, man.
Look at all these cops.
Contract is being terminated because what? Because what?
I don't have the answers.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows my contract is being terminated. The manager doesn't like me, so my contract is being terminated. We're gonna write the case up and down for you that we came here for. What? Absolutely, no problem. Are you with anybody? I didn't do anything to anybody. And we're the only two black people in jail. Let's make this a black thing. We're only two black people in jail. Only two black people in jail. Been having problems with this staff for months over nothing. Every time something new.
Look, did you see all those police? There's like 6 police officers in the gym. 6 police officers. And he walks up to the counter and he goes, you called the police for this? Here, scan me. See that right there? That's me. I've been a member here since 2010. 8 years I've been a member of this gym. I've had problems with this place so now they LA Fitness saw the videos go viral, so they fired the manager. They fired 2 employees at this New Jersey gym. They were kicked out. The 2 guys that are and for me, I'll tell you, I'd be scared to death with all these stories about unarmed people being shot and calling the cops, and all the cops standing around going, "You can't film here." I go, "Listen, I know you don't like being filmed, but I can film here. I know you don't like it, but I mean, this is like real bravery, okay?" And so they were kicked out, and everything that they recorded was shared on social media. Good. I'm happy to see that, because here's the other stories that go alongside it, okay? Do you remember that there was a Kansas City firefighter who was charged with spitting on a 3-year-old in Kansas City in Overland Park at a Hooters, where a family was celebrating the 18th birthday of their son, their grandson, their brother, and there was like 25 family members. They were all in this Hooters celebrating this kid's 18th birthday. And so there was a 3-year-old also there with this 18-year-old boy, his father, his grandfather, bunch of his friends, about 25 people. I mean, the check there was like $240. I mean, it was a big party, 18-year-old birthday party. Okay, and so there was a grandpa there. His name is Ray Harris, and there was the father, everybody was there, and they were, celebrating. They had already ordered their chicken wings, and they were, getting ready to toast, birthday cake and toasting this kid who just turned 18. And they had a 3-year-old with them as part of their family. The 3-year-old got away from the grandpa and, toddled away, ran away, and the grandpa went after him. But before the grandpa could get there, the 3-year-old made it over to the bar area. And at the bar area, there was a firefighter, okay? And the firefighter decided that he would spit on this little 3-year-old and call him the N-word. And a woman who was sitting closer to the bar than the 25 people, having the party, she said to Grandpa Ray, she said, is that your son? He said, "That's my grandson." He goes, "Well, she just said, I just want you to know that man at the bar spit on your 3-year-old and called him the N-word." And the grandpa, got the 3-year-old and then, returned him to his family and then walked back over to the bar and said, "Excuse me, but did you just call my adored grandchild? Did you just spit on my adored grandchild?" And the family saw what was going on. And so the great uncle that was also there to celebrate the 18-year-old's birthday, his name was Michael Mitchell, walked over there and said, hey, let's go outside. You need to breathe. This is bad. Don't get involved. You know what I mean? This guy, is obviously a straight up racist. He's raging and he's spitting at a little kid, and just let's go outside. Let's all go outside. So they go outside. The grandpa goes outside to catch his breath and to try and get himself together. The man, the firefighter's name is Terry Skeen. He's a 15-year veteran of the Kansas City Fire Department. He says this is his, this is his calling in life. He loves to put his life on the line for any Kansas citizen who needs his help. And yet there he is, spitting on a 3-year-old and calling a toddler, the N-word, okay? And so Grandpa Raymond was there to celebrate his grandson's 18th birthday, and the 18-year-old wanted to celebrate at Hooters with 25 relatives. And so he goes chasing after the 3-year-old, gets the 3-year-old, and the woman says, this man just spit on your grandchild. And so he goes over to talk to the firefighter, and the firefighter actually says to him, you need to get that effing, I'm not going to say it. He said, you need to get that effing girl and take her back to the other side where you came from. And Grandpa Ray says, he's a boy, but more to the point, did you spit on my grandson? And the firefighter says, F you, you N-word. I'll spit on you too. F you. I will shoot you. The firefighter, Mr. Skeen, was there with a friend, and the friend says he don't like kids of that kind to Grandpa Ray. So Grandpa Ray returns the child to his mom, and he was about to go back to the firefighter to resume his little talk, and that's when the relatives intervened, and they said, listen, you're very upset, you're angry, you're emotional, and they say, I'm going to take you outside. Let's go outside. Let's go into the parking lot. And the grandfather says, yes, I have to go into the parking lot. I have to let out my anger and frustration. And, his brother keeps telling, it's okay. We're going to handle this. We're going to call the police. Okay? They were still outside taking some deep breaths when the police came. And the police were called on Grandpa Ray. The police were called on that family that were there to celebrate the 18-year-old's birthday, not on the firefighter who spit on a 3-year-old and called him the N-word.
All things Randy at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
Let me just first show you a few headlines from today, but also the recent past, just to illustrate what I'm about to lay out to you. Look at this headline, Associated Press today. Chobani Yogurt Company sues right-wing radio host Alex Jones. And it says because I claim Islamic migrants, quote, refugees are unvetted, which they are.
No, they're not.
And that 20% or more have TB. And because this guy promotes the importation of these people, I'm a liar, so they're suing me. They also say that he's been caught bringing in Islamicists who have now pled guilty to rape.
Oh, my God.
Well, let me then clarify or correct myself here. I'm not saying he consciously brought in people he thought were going to rape, but people he brought in and force-fed on America have now been implicated, indicted, and have pled guilty to that.
Oh, my God.
But here's what's even crazier. The owner of Chobani, who appeared out of nowhere in the late 1990s here in the United States, immigrated here in 1994, he is on the New York Federal Reserve. That's the New York Fed that under the 1913 Federal Reserve Act controls all the other regional banks in the United States. And Donald Trump is even having trouble removing the New York Fed.
Okay. See what I'm talking about? This crap that is spewed all over the internets, all over the freaking world by these crazy people. The Fox Newses, which is a vowel movement away from what it does to the news. The Alex Jones, the Rush Limbaughs, all this racist crap. First of all, I got to tell you, Chobani Yogurt did sue Alex Jones for saying that the man who owns Chobani Hamdi Ulukaya, who's been here for 25 years and built himself a beautiful business making Greek yogurt. That he somehow was importing rapists and stuff. So Chobani's owner did sue Alex Jones, and Alex Jones did make this whole thing up out of whole cloth and settled out of court in Chobani's favor because Alex Jones finds it profitable to lie like this and then just pay the penalty on the back end just because he enjoys making money this way by getting crazy people to listen to him and believe that three boys, the story he's talking about, was not related to Chobani yogurt. These kids were too young to even have jobs. It was a story about three boys who were 14, 10, and 7, who assaulted a 5-year-old girl. That's the story. And he's accusing this man of hiring and not vetting. It makes no sense. But he did get sued, and he settled with Chobani in Chobani's favor, by the way. Chobani also employs 1,000 people. 1,000 people in Twin Falls. That's some good employment in Twin Falls. They support dairy farmers in Twin Falls. They support the people who grow the feed in Twin Falls. That's according to the Twin Falls mayor, Sean Beauregard. He says the region has been home to resettled refugees since the 1980s. Long before Chobani opened up its factory there in 2012. And Alex Jones decided that he was going to promote some racist hatred on his show against immigrants who make it big in this country and who therefore employ Americans and some resettled refugees who came here in the 1980s and just start stoking the fire. And so they sued Alex Jones for defamation. Now, that's a hard case to win against a public figure. You have to prove that insane man knew he was lying when he was lying. Well, the reason why we knew he was lying when he was lying is because that AP story that he had set aside on his desk, you can still get it. And that story does not say anything that he says it does. And he actually ignored that the fact that there's been no increased refugee settlements in Twin Falls, Idaho, and that nothing he said was in that story. So he had the story right there and then decided to lie about it. So there's that, right? There's that. And now, of course, he's being sued by, I can't even tell you how many people now are suing him. I mean, the Parkland, he accused the wrong guy of being the shooter in Marjorie Stoneman Douglas shooting. You got the Sandy Hook families who have finally had it with him. They're suing him for defamation because they're getting threats. Because remember, Alex Jones' story about Sandy Hook was that this was the anti-gun, uber, anti-fascist crowd, the globalists. This was, sponsored by George Soros and whatever, crazy crap goes through this man's head, right? And so he said that it was anti-gun nuts that faked Sandy Hook in order to get stricter background checks and gun regulation. That's why he says Sandy Hook didn't happen. He says that, they were crisis actors, that those weren't really dead children. Well, the families of Sandy Hook have been threatened so often, and he won't stop saying it. And every time he says, well, I think maybe people did die, he reverts back to, but I saw the kids running around with their hands up in circles. It looked like a drill to me. Didn't look real. And so finally the parents have had it, and they're suing him. Chobani sued him. Obviously, they prevailed. A man who saw Heather Heyer in Charlottesville get killed by the white supremacists, he's suing Alex Jones because Alex Jones, said that this man who witnessed this, his life was upended when Alex Jones started attacking him as being, part of the deep state or part of George Soros's crowd, and that he filmed this, and that she was a crisis. Heather Heyer was a crisis. She's not really dead either. I mean, now, I think you need to know that the crap that you listen to is fake. to the point where he would rather pay a settlement to the people he defames, to the people he threatens, to the people he hurts, to the people who end up getting death threats by his crazy sycophantic audience. I would rather you know that he's paying these fines, that he's paying these settlements, that he's a fraud, and he loves being a fraud. And I don't know if he's mentally stable or not. I honestly don't, but somebody needs to take that freaking microphone away from him.
All of the parents decided to come out and lie about their dead children.
I didn't say that.
What happened to the children?
I will sit there on the air and look at every position and play devil's advocate.
Was that devil's advocate? The whole thing is a giant hoax. The whole thing was fake.
Yes, because I remember even that day, if I go back from memory, then saying, but then some of it looks like it's real. But then what do you do when they've got the kids going in circles in and out of the building with their hands up? I've watched the footage, and it looks like a drill.
Yesterday, Alex Jones responded to the lawsuit in a video message.
I believe Sandy Hook happened. And early on, I was being bullied by internet folks and others to say nobody died.
He was being bullied.
And when I wouldn't say nobody died in the debates, and then I would actually side with those that said that people did die, they would say that I was a government agent.
NBC's Megyn Kelly, host of Megyn Kelly Today, will have an exclusive interview with one of the parents suing Jones. She joins me now for a preview. This is the first civil lawsuit against Alex Jones in this matter. What do we know about why these parents are suing?
Because he won't let up. Neither he nor the people who work for him. This lawsuit is brought against InfoWars, and there's an employee named Owen Schroyer who doubled down on these controversial comments after one of the Newtown dads, one of the parents went on with Anderson Cooper, and one of the Newtown dads, Neil Heslin, came on with me. And Neil said to me that he held the body of his dead son in his hands and was making the point that he's had enough. He's had enough of Alex Jones and this nonsense about Sandy Hook never happening. And true to form, InfoWars doubled down in the wake of Anderson Cooper, in the wake of us, and went after the parents again. And Owen Schroyer is saying, oh, the bodies were never released to the parents, referring to a coroner's remark that he didn't require the parents to identify the bodies in person, but rather by photograph, which does not speak at all to whether the parents ever received the bodies back, which is, of course, what happened so that they could bury them.
I mean, honest to God, man, there is no low that is too low for these freaking people who are enriching themselves based on a large amount of seriously hateful people out there. I mean, the whole thing with, the Pizzagate story that he told. You had a guy in North Carolina literally drive his car all the way to Washington, D.C. to shoot up Comet Pizza and Ping Pong because Alex Jones told them that Hillary Clinton was running a pedophile ring out of this pizza place. You know, Alex Jones just lost custody of his children. I mean, I wonder why. This is like one of many lawsuits. It's the first lawsuit in the matter of Sandy Hook, but this Alex Jones is being sued all the time, by people who have been threatened by his audience members, the Comet Pizza, the Chobani guy, the guy that actually, saw Heather Heyer be killed by a white supremacist and filmed it, a Parkland guy who was not the shooter, who was called the shooter. His name was Marcel. I don't even want to say his last name, but he was accused by a woman on Alex Jones' show of being a CIA operative when a neo-Nazi slammed into Heather Heyer. And then, they're suing, Alex Jones. They're suing InfoWars for over $1 million because he was identified as being a mass shooter, an ISIS member, Here's the report that the blog that Alex Jones posted reported Florida shooter dressed as communist supported ISIS because this kid Marcel was wearing a novelty T-shirt with a picture that says Communists Party with a picture of Karl Marx wearing a lampshade on his head. right? No, and they're all suing. Everyone's suing. And all this man does is sit there all day. And Sean Hannity with his racist crap and Black Lives Don't Matter, Blue Lives Matter. And Trump, is tweeting about, what's his name? Not sending the California, not sending National Guard down there, and it's in California sanctuary cities. They're breeding. This is crazy. So yes, these incidents have gone through the roof. This hatred that has been not just made okay, but promoted by the President of the United States, literally promoted by him, tweeted by him, said out loud in speeches by him, started his campaign calling people rapists. Mexicans are rapists. They're not sending their best. Can you imagine the people that, win the visa lottery? The government is handpicking them, right? And they're not vetted and repeating all this. So this is what fills the head of a Kansas City firefighter who sits at the bar with his friend and thinks that the proper reaction to having the president of his choice, a sufficiently racist president, is to spit on a 3-year-old. And then when the grandpa says, "Did you just spit on my adored grandchild? Did you just do?" And the man explodes on grandpa and says, "You're an N-word and I'll shoot you." And the police get called, but the police get called against grandpa and his 25 family members who have just ordered $240 worth of food in Hooters to celebrate his grandson's 18th birthday. They were kicked out. Okay, the manager didn't kick out the firefighter who spit on a 3-year-old. They kicked out the grandfather. They kicked out the 18-year-old who was celebrating his birthday. All his friends, they were kicked out. And they were very scared that, they hadn't paid their bill. So they said, well, can we go back in and pay the bill? I don't want you to think that we're skipping out on the bill. We're not eating and dashing, he said. Grandpa said. And they didn't want him to go back in, but they did want him to pay his bill. So he had to give his phone number to one of the police officers so he could pay the bill. And before he could even get home, they said, "Oh, it's okay. The man that spit on you, he's a firefighter." He said, "It's definitely not okay. We don't want anybody to think because he has a badge he can get away with this. It's definitely not okay." You think about that. And there's more. Go to RandiRhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.